The magic within each of us that gives us the potential to inspire the world. Kobe Bryant.
Welcome to Finneytown Local School District's official podcast, the only place to listen to the in-depth stories from our students, staff, and community members. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the show. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Finneytown Wildcats official podcast. I'm your host, Eric Muchmore, and I'm, as always, joined by my co-host, Mike Kennedy. Mike, how are you today?
I'm doing great. We have the wrestling team with us, some members from that. And, I thought we'd pull a mat in here and wrestle in the middle, but that was probably going to be a bad idea. But I'm excited to talk to these guys about what they're doing from day to day.
Me too. Also, along with the student wrestlers, we have Coach Lynn Volz. Mr. Volz, how are you today?
Doing great this morning.
Thanks for joining us. We also have Rochelle Parsons. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. And then we have my Shauna Tinsley.
Hi.
Hi. And thanks for joining us. So we're here to talk about the wrestling program today and the success that you all have had individually, collectively. The wrestling program was really not here at Finneytown for about a period of 7 to 8 years. Going back to about 2011, the wrestling program went away for a while, and then Mr. Volz and some other adults brought about a resurgence, and that resurgence has been strong, and the program is growing and growing year after year, and more students are getting involved and working hard in the wrestling room, and it has been one of the I think, best stories around Finneytown the past few years. And to see, and the podcast room is neighbors to the wrestling room. So we get to hear that energy often and the excitement that's happening out there. And I'm rather thankful that I don't have to wrestle too. It looks a little too tough for these old bones.
Yeah, it's not my game.
Yeah, I don't know if that wrestling mat idea in here would have been a good one for us.
That would have been a bad one. I think people would have got a lot of laughs, though, out of it.
And so the wrestling team also is coming off an awesome trip. They took to Cocoa, Florida to participate in a tournament down there. And that was a cool experience for our kids, getting to see a different state, different culture, the beach. Awesome for that program. And then we have CHL championships coming up here next weekend, right?
That is correct.
And high expectations for our Wildcats. So I don't know if you've all listened to the podcast before. I know some of your wrestling teammates have been on the podcast before. But we do begin podcasts with rapid fire and a new wrinkle this time. Mike, you usually do rapid fire, but who does it now?
Now we have Mr. Mike Rosa on the mic as our producer. We are lucky to have him, and he's going to be our rapid fire extraordinaire.
Mike, the producer, take it away for us.
What's going on, guys? How are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's time for rapid fire. The way this works, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. You got to answer it as quickly as possible because this isn't relaxed fire. It's rapid fire. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Volz, we're going to start with you, okay? What is the overall team record for the wrestling team?
That is hard to explain. Dual meet wise, I'd say we're maybe 10-4 this year. Individual record wise, we're very successful. We do a lot of tournaments, so keeping a record is somewhat tricky.
Okay, I appreciate that. Rochelle, this one's for you. You ready? Mm-hmm. Who on the wrestling team is most likely to forget his or her singlet?
Kadeem.
Kadeem?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Do you agree with that, Shauna?
Yeah.
Man, that was an instant Kadeem. I hope Kadeem hears this and maybe improves his memory.
I like it. Moving on. My Shauna, you ready? Mm-hmm. What wrestling drill do you dread the most?
Bear crawls.
Ooh.
Oh, man.
I can't even do bear crawls. Do you have to do crab walks too?
Oh, we don't. Just bear crawls.
What's a bear crawl?
Yeah, like your hands and feet, and you kind of like run.
Yeah.
That sounds brutal.
I'm gonna try it with my kids at home tonight. I'm gonna look up bear crawl on the internet, and we're gonna do it right in the middle of the living room. I'm excited.
There you go.
I like it. These last two are for everybody. Okay. Now I used to wrestle in junior high. Picture it. Get excited about it. Now
know
delete it from your memory. Okay. But I always had earbuds in my ears. Okay. I did. I know you do too before a match. What song pumps you up before a wrestling match?
We Ain't Going Out Like That by Cypress Hill.
Oh.
Okay. What about it pumps you up?
Just the beat. It's exciting.
Cool.
Annie Pierce, the Veil song. Oh my goodness. Their music is so fire.
Thank
Gotta
you.
listen to it.
Okay.
What about back when you wrestled, Volz? What was your pump up song?
Crazy Train, Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh,
All right. I just got to go swing back here for a second, Mr. Rosa and Myshana. Did you say a song by Cypress Hill?
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. All right.
It's a throwback.
That is a throwback.
Yeah, I like it. I'm impressed. That's good. Last question, okay? What is the greatest strength of your team?
Camaraderie.
Probably mindset.
Yeah. I think our team has a good connection, like friendly wise. We push each other good.
Cool. I appreciate that. Well, thanks, guys, for rapid fire. And back to you, MK. And Much. What's your name?
It's Eric.
Oh, sorry, Eric.
Well, what a great question to finish rapid fire out on. You talk about camaraderie, you talk about mindset, you talk about connection and friendliness, and those are the intangibles that elevate sports teams from good to great or average to good. And we've seen teams that have a lot of talent but don't have camaraderie among themselves or friendliness or a mindset that's of hardworking effort, team mentality, and they stumble even with all that talent. So that's awesome to hear that you immediately went to those three attributes, and it's no surprise considering the amount of success that the wrestling program has had recently and is having this year. So awesome. All right, let's shift to talk about wrestling on a personal matter. We're curious, Mike and I, we were planning this podcast. We were wondering, what should we ask our guests for this? And we felt like starting with a simple yet somewhat complex one might be a good way. And so the question is, what does wrestling mean to each of you? What does wrestling mean to you?
Wrestling, to me, it shows me that I can have control of myself, and it helps me build on what I know. Because, whenever I wrestle, I feel different. I don't feel like myself. I feel bigger than myself. It shows me that I can do whatever I want.
That's powerful.
That is.
Yeah, I think wrestling definitely makes you want to push yourself farther than you actually think you can. I think it's really about your mindset. If you go in there with a can-do attitude, you probably can.
That fits perfectly because our season is impossible. And hearing you say that, I could feel the emotions in both of your voices, but also see it on your faces of you guys believe in yourself. You believe in your team. And I see it in the halls. I see it in the classroom. When you're in the classroom, I have you in the classroom, Myshana, I see that. And I know that's a carryover of that experience. And we see it in the halls and we see it in the classroom. So that's powerful.
Yeah, it is neat to see it manifest even in spaces outside of wrestling. There seems to be a calm confidence just in the energy you give to other people. It's pretty cool. And I feel it in here. And when I invited the both of you to the podcast, I sensed it just through that interaction. And it's really neat when we can see, our time in sports transfer over to the other aspects of our lives. All right, Volz, you've heard your two wrestlers. What does wrestling mean to you? You're a coach now, former wrestler here at Finneytown.
I'll build on the camaraderie, the teamwork, having them come into the room every day and they push each other. They begin that process of they can believe they can do better. And that mindset then allows them to work hard, both in the room, out in the halls, in the classroom, and they do, having taken them on different trips, they do enjoy each other's company. So that's also an important part, kind of that family feel. You know, whether we're to walk into a restaurant with 20 wrestlers and everyone looks at us like, what is going on? And we all sit down and eat family style and have a great time together. There's a lot of joking that goes on. But when it's time for business, they get down to business.
Well, I'm interested in this story. Like, you know, I'm really interested in the story of the journey because this seems like this has been a journey for this team. Take us through this. Like, for the audience, we know that, you know, the wrestling program was on pause for, would you say, 6 or 7 years, something like that, right? And now it's a resurgence. Take us on that journey and then take us into the world of what's happening now. Because I think I've never wrestled before. I've only heard through friends who have wrestled. And I know there's some audience members who've never been in that world. Take us through that journey that's made this impossible story come alive.
So when we restarted it, we had like a sliver of a mat left over from years ago. We found it in the gym. We had a very small classroom. We tried to just do a little bit. And that first year we had a single event just to try to do that. And then the following year it kind of got introduced a little bit more officially. We brought it into the middle school and then slowly added the high school because once you have the middle school, it builds. So currently we have a very large freshman group that has been around, which both Rochelle and Shauna are part of. And last year we focused on the middle school as them as 8th graders, and we, you know, with middle school you stay pretty local. But now that they're in high school, we have taken them on those journeys of let's go see what we can really do. And so we've been to Pennsylvania, we've been deep into Kentucky, we've been to Florida. The girls went up to the Fight, which is a national wrestling tournament that you have to be invited to due to their skill sets. And some of the successes the girls have had in the summertime. So even though wrestling season will be over for a high school season, many of them still wrestle in the spring, summer. And, you know, I know last year, you know, Shauna made it all the way to Oklahoma for nationals and whatnot.
Are you kidding me? Wow, hit the rock. That's crazy.
So it's this, we've been building as, I think it was Rochelle put out that mindset of, yes, you can be better than what other people expect. And if you work hard at it and put in the time, they have bought into the program and therefore their successes have come and they expect a lot more out of themselves as we travel into the future.
So you're telling me that you've Pennsylvania, well, Oklahoma was another thing I heard, Florida, Kentucky. What a story. That's wild.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, that's my reaction. And like, I didn't fully understand that, journey. And I'm excited for people to hear that now.
And I'm part of that journey is also this year we've been very intentional in reaching out to the alumni of wrestling. And so a lot of the alumni, we've had a number of alumni come in and kind of guest coach and help out, or they come and watch. Some have done some donations to help us offset certain costs. And so the alumni are coming back to help support this journey with the young wrestlers because a lot of them remember what wrestling was like for them and how it helped them out.
I love that. And I guess what I'm interested also is we've kind of heard the overarching journey of the wrestling program, but take us to the mat. This is where you guys come in as students. Like, take us to that journey that you've had personally. I mean, you said middle school. I'm assuming that you guys started in the 8th grade group. Now you're freshmen. Is that right?
Yeah.
So take us through that journey, that lens of a student. What's that like?
Well, I kind of just seen the wrestlers in the hallway, and they're like, "Oh, you guys, you should join. We don't have girls. We don't really have girls." I was like, "Okay," and I went in the room, and I saw Coach Coffee, and he was really nice, and I talked to Coach Coffee, and I came into practice a couple of days later, and it was kind of a shock, like, because I've never seen like much wrestling before. So when I saw like a bunch of sweaty kids rolling around, I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be different." But it was very exciting. I wasn't very good at the beginning, but I did. But both the coaches were really supportive, and they pushed me to work really hard to get where I am.
That's beautiful. Love it.
My story is very different. It's like off and on. So basically, I was supposed to do football, but I didn't do it. And I was supposed to choose between not football, wrestling and basketball. And I chose basketball, right? And so I was at this game. It was like one of the last games, and Coach Coffee was there. And he was like, are you going to do wrestling next year? And I was like, yes. And then he was like, promise? And I was like, yeah, yeah, I promise. And I keep my promises. So I came back and I did wrestling, and then I liked it. So yeah.
That's a beautiful story too. I mean, we all can kind of relate of you're in, you're out, right? And then you're in again, and you discover how awesome that is.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
And so Mr. Volz mentioned the alumni who've attended practices. I'm sure they attend meets, duels, support the program. We have alumni who've donated money to make things possible for the current students. So what does that mean to you to know that people from the past, I'm sure that some are older than others. I think I've seen some guests, but what does it mean to you knowing that those who used to wrestle here are that invested in you, individuals, and your team, financially and with their time and expertise?
It made me feel like I'm definitely going to carry wrestling into the future. Like, wrestling is one of those sports that just never leave you, even if you wanted to.
Tell me more about that.
Like, for a while, I was sick for a little bit, and I came back, and I was in the hospital. I was like, I have practice. Like, I need to be practicing. I need to be da-da-da. And I was just moving around the whole time. It was like it's built into me, like it's part of who I am now. It's like once you get that kind of energy, it's like you can't get enough. It's like an addiction.
That's amazing. What about you?
I feel appreciated. Yeah. It makes me feel like everything that I worked for is finally coming back to me.
Is it safe to say you love wrestling?
Yeah.
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 Volz?
Oh, yeah.
And we sense it, even those of us who are not part of the program. I mean, it's visible, that love for the sport. And it's really cool. I also notice how much you don't go out there and wrestle with a teammate. It's not like WWE where you can do like a tag team match or whatever, right? Right. So it's you're out there isolated. And I've always really admired wrestlers for putting themselves out there. I mean, it's just you, right? But what I've noticed about the wrestling program is that even when it's just one wrestler out there, your teammates want you to win and are supporting you so badly. And I just think that's a really cool thing when it comes to wrestling and specifically the program that you're building. So a lot of we are possible, I am possible through what you've shared so far. The fact, Lynn, that the wrestling program is back and it's growing rapidly and having great success. You, Coach Coffee, the alumni, the students, that's the we are possible and have made that happen. So I want to shift just a little bit away from wrestling so that our audience gets to know you as individuals and people. So, our theme for the podcast this season is I'm Possible. So my question is, how is your personal story a story of I'm Possible?
For me personally, I kind of before wrestling, I struggled with depression and anxiety a little bit. And so when I came to practice and I made new friends, it definitely helped me come out of my shell a lot. Made me more talkative and excited. And I can come into wrestling just having a really bad day and leave the most excited I've been in a while. Is really different.
Thanks, Miss Shauna.
So Yeah, same thing for me too. I was like depressed before wrestling, but then I started making friends and they started supporting me and everything was going well. So yeah.
Thanks, Rochelle.
It energizes me. It's one of those where you see some of these successes that the kids are having, and so you keep notching it up for them. Instead of saying, hey, let's go out and just win a few matches, it's like, okay, now that you're winning, what are your goals for tournament time? You know, do you want to be a league champion? Do you want to be a sectional champion? Do you want to make it to the state tournament? Do you want to place at state? And so you start ratcheting out the kind of the path that they can take. And they keep pushing us coaches because they keep putting these goals, and you're like, okay, well, we need more alum and more expertise to come in the room to start doing some of the individual work to try to really help them achieve some of these goals. And so, you know, the goals have moved from when they were younger to, oh, yeah, just let's go have fun, and okay, to let's win, to we need to win league. We need to do some of this big-time stuff. So let's go on and go get the medals.
You know, the most striking thing of your guys' story today is that it really fits into that personal invitation and passion combined together. And bringing a small group of individuals together that have a goal together and working to make that group get larger and organically. And I think that's, as a district, we really celebrate that organic growth. And I can't say thank you enough to everybody who's been involved in this. I know you said Coach Coffee. I know there's alumni. I know, Lynn, you've been instrumental. And the thing from the story that I've seen behind the scenes is you guys just go one piece at a time through passion, through authentic invitation. You know, Coach Coffee coming to you, Rochelle, and saying, hey, you're doing wrestling, right? I mean, there was purpose behind that invitation, that connection. He felt a lot about you and knew that, you know, this would be something that you would enjoy and that you have enjoyed in the past, and that you had a talent, you had a gift. And that personal invitation means a lot. And I think as a district, we've learned the power of groups working together. We've learned the power of small groups, because you didn't start with a huge group, right, Lynn?
No.
You started with a small group of people that cared, that had a lot of gifts to give, and they made some invitations to others, and now you got this thing. And I think that journey of I'm Possible, I mean, it's right here in front of us. So Lynn, personally thanking you, and I know there's a lot of people involved, and I don't know everybody on the list, but I want to personally thank you and the students for bringing that back to Finneytown, because anybody else out there that wants to start something, it's possible.
It is possible if you put the effort, and you. I liked what you said about the personal invitations. We kept telling the students as coaches, like, invite your friends. Go out, and who can you talk to? Go invite them. And then we as coaches have personally invited former alum or former coaches like Randy Kent to come back, and he's teaching, and it's all about that invitation. And then it celebrates the individuals when they do well and when they don't do well. We wrap our arms around each other.
Yeah, I love it.
Last question. Right now, you have your wrestling teammates, 3 of you, coaches, alumni. I'm sure parents and guardians and other people are supporting the program. Right now, this group of all these individuals invested in the program, what is possible with this group that is not possible with any other group?
To be the change, to change Finneytown, make it more sportsmanship, more love, more compassion, more pushing each other. I think we can change every sport with this group.
That was a really good answer.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it made me tear up.
I know. I got a few chills there.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to add on to that too. That was very nice, Maishana. I think that she's right. We can build up Finneytown because, like, you know how, like, people leave Finneytown to go to a better school or like a better sport, we don't want to do that. Just stay here and we could all build together and it will all be nice. And then nobody has to worry about anything.
That was the perfect add-on to my Shauna's. Thank you, Rochelle.
You're welcome.
Beautiful.
I'll build on that.
Okay.
Interestingly, last year our motto was be the change, the idea of trying to build that mindset. And this year it's the show up, because if we all show up and do our part, we can be the change that slowly ripples in the hallway, the classrooms, and the other sports and throughout the community.
Yeah.
And thanks, Lynn.
Wow. What a great story.
Yeah,
Excited for this one to drop.
me too. I'm excited for the opportunity our community will have to hear the stories that you shared today. So thank you. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you, my Shauna. Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Lynn. And Mike, as always, another good one.
It really is. And anytime we have students, it just changes the room. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here. We're going to kick it to Mike, the producer, to close us out.
I want to give something new that's called Rose's Reaction. And Rose's reaction to this podcast today was filled with uplifting moments. When I was listening to Rochelle and my Shauna talk about what's possible, what we can change, be the change, it got me like, I'm ready to jump out of this chair and get excited and join the wrestling team. They don't want that. But they want, I want to join the wrestling team. The belief in the better. I think my Shauna mentioned that. Family. I know Mr. Volz talked about family a lot. Finneytown is family. The wrestling team clearly is family. And we just really appreciate, and I appreciate the wrestling team for coming in. So thank you all for coming. Definitely a big thanks to Mr. Volz, Rochelle, my Shauna. Big thanks to Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Muchmore for what they do. Everything's possible, guys. We can do it all here at Finneytown, and we're very excited about it. Please tell your friends about this podcast. People at the grocery store, people you run into, your pets. I don't care if you got a dog or a cat, tell them. We got a podcast. And if you want to be on it, you want to share your story about Impossible. If you think there's something you know about being Impossible, let us know. You can reach out to Mr. Kennedy at mkennedy at finneytown.org or E Muchmore, because it's Eric, remember, E Muchmore at finneytown.org. And we'll try to get you on the podcast. All right? You guys hear that music? That means it's time for a message from our board member, Jalecia McMullen. See you next time, guys.
Finneytown is a place that truly thrives. We look beyond our students' differences and allow this to introduce new perspectives and experiences to our lives. It's a place where we value student voice and presence. Our teachers, staff, and parents work together to create an inclusive school culture where all students can feel safe to learn and gain the knowledge they need to excel throughout life. It's a place where we are better together. We grow, we live, we thrive. We are Finneytown. Let's go Wildcats.